By the late 90s, Pokemon wasn't just popular, it was everywhere. The games, the anime, the cards, the merch. If you were a kid, you couldn't escape it. Pokemon Red and Blue was such a huge success in the West that the world were waiting for what was next, a sequel. After the original games exploded worldwide, Game Freak didn't slow down. They went straight to work on the next generation of Pokemon. And this wasn't just a sequel, this was their chance to push the Game Boy to its limits. Development on Pokemon Gold and Silver actually began in 1997 while the rest of the world was still completely obsessed with Red and Blue. But the team at Game Freak had an ambitious plan to introduce 100 brand new Pokemon and add in additional features like the Pokegear, ability to breed Pokemon, and the day-night cycle. And just when that sounded impossible enough, they took it one step further. After you beat the main game, you could actually travel back to explore the entire Kanto region from the first game. Basically, they crammed 2 full Pokemon games into one cartridge. It was one of the most ambitious Game Boy projects ever made, and somehow they pulled it off. Pokemon Gold and Silver finally released in Japan in November 1999, and almost instantly became a must-have game of the year. When they arrived in the West in the year 2000, the hype was unreal. The colours looked amazing on the Game Boy Color. You could hatch eggs for the first time, berries grew on trees in real time, and some Pokemon even evolved differently depending on whether it was day or night. At the time, this was absolutely mind-blowing. Remember, this was an era where Snake on the Nokia was considered cutting-edge mobile gaming. For me, Pokemon Silver wasn't just another game, it was my first Pokemon game, and honestly, it's still my most nostalgic game to date. They instantly take me back to being a kid again, sitting back of a long car journey, Game Boy in hand, totally lost in the world of Johto. It wasn't just about catching Pokemon, it was about the adventure, and about that feeling of exploring a whole new world, and about the magic of childhood discovery. Even now, when I hear the opening theme or the Pokemon Center music, it's like flipping through pages of an old photo album, but the memories are still alive and moving. It's likely one of the reasons why I started learning Japanese 8 years ago. A little while ago, I managed to get my hands on the original Japanese copy of Pokemon Silver. At first, this was to be just a collectible, but I decided to play through it again, but this time with a fresh new perspective. In this series, I'm going to play the original Japanese version the way it was intended and explore how Pokemon Silver was written, translated and localized. And this is because there are some really fascinating differences hidden in here. For example, certain lines of dialogue carry completely different tones or meanings, some Pokemon names are totally different in Japanese, and there are subtle cultural references that were completely reworked for Western audiences. Since the entire game is written in kana and no kanji, it's actually pretty approachable for Japanese learners, especially if you're around the JLPT N3 or N4 level. So whether you're a nostalgic Pokemon fan, a language nerd, or just here for a laugh, welcome aboard. This is the Localization Pokemon Silver. Let's dive in. The journey starts with our main character, Zero. This is New Bark Town, where Zero grew up and lives with his mum. In Japanese, New Bark Town is actually called Wakaba, meaning young leaves. This can be metaphorical for the start of something new and setting off on a new journey. New Bark Town is also based off a real place in Japan, which is called Hanamatsu, near Shizuoka Prefecture, and this is common with a lot of Japanese areas. Johto, in fact, is based off real-life Kansai in Japan. Fun fact, in the original development prototype for this game, the first town in the 1997 Space World demo build of Pokemon Gold and Silver was actually called Silent Hill, a name that was later changed to New Bark Town in the final release. The area was a prototype for the final New Bark Town's lab and featured different map layouts and graphics. It was changed to New Bark Town, and in later releases of the games, for example Soul Silver and Heart Gold, they added wind and wind farms. I want to get out of this house and actually start the journey, but Zero's mum comes in and lets me know that the professor is looking for me. In both English and Japanese, the dialogue is the same, aside from one small part. In English, but not in Japanese, they have an extra bit of dialogue, the mention of daylight savings. Okay mum, what a weird way to get me to come home. But this dialogue is completely missed in the Japanese version. This is due to Japan not having a daylight saving time. Life was very hard after the war, and they believed that daylight saving time just made the days even longer. Now she's finished speaking, We go into the lab and see what the professor is looking for. In the Japanese version, Professor Elm is not called Professor Elm. Instead, it's called Utsugi. Utsugi refers to the flowering shrub in Japanese botanical naming. The choice of Utsugi fits with the Pokemon tradition of professors having plant or nature-themed names, i.e. oak, birch, rowan, etc. Utsugi wouldn't make any sense in English, hence they changed it to elm. In the last series of Pokemon Green, we went through each Pokemon we came across and explained what it is in Japanese. We won't repeat any Kanto Pokemon we catch along the way, but any new Johto Pokemon we catch will be broken down into similar detail. For example, we have Cyndaquil. Cyndaquil in Japanese is Hi no Arashi, which is Hi for fire, Arashi for storm, so basically firestorm. We also have Totodile, which in Japanese is Wani no ko, which is Wani, crocodile, and Ko, child, the child of crocodile.
Whoo! Danger, danger, danger.
Chikorita is the same in English and basically carried over in Japanese kana. The name is likely built from a chicory, a plant, and ita, which is Spanish diminutive. We leave Professor Utsugi and start our adventure. Hang on, what's this weird kid doing behind the lab? I'm going to call him Silver, and this time he's up to no good. The English translation is very similar, which is essentially questioning the lab and why it's so special. I'm sure we'll be seeing more of him later. We make our way through the wild grass for the first time, getting a taste of the battle mechanics. We pass Route 30 to get to the next town, Cherry Grove City, and we're greeted by this lovely old man.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
Wonder what he wants.
Hello!
In both the Japanese and English version, he says the same things. However, in Japanese, it translates to be a bit more fun and light-hearted, rather than a simple tutorial. This is conveyed using his language style, which is similar to a wise old man, saying words such as washi, which is what the older generation would say, instead of watashi, the normal Japanese word for I. As the old man is given this tour, I noticed the Pokémon Center is a bit different in the Japanese version compared to the European US version, with an image of a Pokeball. According to the cutting room floor, in both the Japanese and Korean version, the Pokemon Center signs in Johto have a Pokeball drawing with the letters PC next to it. In the international versions, the sign was changed back to one used in Generation 1 games, i.e. with no Pokemon logo. Here are some of the theories behind why that is. Well, one is a localization reason. PC in English is commonly understood as personal computer. There could have been concerns about this, or the sign may have been misinterpreted. Anyway, we finish the tour and receive an extra item for our Pokegear. The Pokemon map feature is another thing I noticed to be slightly different in the English version. I had a look into this. In the international versions, the region map got a layout tweak. They made the grey border go all the way around the map in both Town Map and Pokegear, and shifted the header text upwards. This was done to leave more space to display longer localized area names. Cherry Grove City is a small town, but what was it called in the original version? In Japanese, Cherry Grove City is called Yoshino City, a direct nod to the Yoshino region, famous for its cherry blossoms, but when localizing the game, the name was swapped for something that would resonate with English speakers while still keeping it natural. Therefore, Cherry Grove City was coined. Anyway, we skip forward to the task at hand, which is meeting this Pokemon Grandpa. I get a mystery egg and a Pokédex. Wonder what was in this egg. Both Japanese and English are similar, so we won't dive into this. On the way back, we're stopped by a familiar face. What's he doing? When he chats to Zero, he says some typical villain talk about wanting to be the strongest Pokemon trainer, blah blah blah. Interestingly, his speech in Japanese is very rude and direct, using the word ore for I, which is typically masculine, and villains always use it, including Giovanni, the rocket boss from the first game. Interesting. Additionally, as Silver declares his ambition, there is a particle at the end of the sentence he uses, which is sa, and this is easy to miss, but it's a key part of his voice. It's a casual, confident ending that adds swagger. In English, this line simply becomes, I'm going to be the world's greatest Pokemon trainer. The meaning is still there, but that cocky, almost smirking tone of the Japanese is smoothed out. It's like the difference between someone calmly saying, I'll win, and someone smirking, of course I'll win. We head back towards the lab, and find out that one of the Pokemon has just been stolen.
What?
They stole it from us.
Wonder who that could be. After getting some Pokeballs and moving onward, we catch a few Pokemon unique to the Johto area. First we catch Sentret. Sentret in Japanese is Otachi, likely from O, meaning tail, and Tachi, meaning standing, so literally standing tail. But why Otachi? Sentret is known for standing upright on its tail to scout for danger. The Japanese name directly describes it with its recognizable behavior, literally a Pokemon that stands on its tail. Simple, descriptive, and very Japanese style naming, focusing on its physical traits. In English, Sentret comes from potentially sentinel, a guard or lookout, and ferret. It's a clever localization because instead of describing the behavior literally, like in Japanese, the English name blends traits and roles into something that feels natural as a creature name in English. We come across our first trainer. Wait, he looks familiar. I've seen all the memes about this infamous trainer Joey, who reportedly calls you regarding his Rattata. In Japanese, his name's actually Goro. Both names convey just some kid you'd meet earlier on. But Goro feels more local in Japan, while Joey feels more approachable to Western players. It's a great example of how the translators adapted rather than directly translating names. He gives us our phone number, and I have a feeling this isn't the last time we'll hear from Goro. We make our way through a number of other trainers until we reach the next town, which in English is called Violet City. Just for a bonus, I'll now go into why you've probably clicked on this video. This little extra is something that I'll talk a bit more about in the series, which are censorship changes. For example, the beauty. In the original Japanese version, the beauty is winking and has a short skirt, but in the international release, the pose was slightly changed. This was that the skirt was made longer and she's no longer winking. According to the cutting room floor, this was part of a broader localization effort to tone down sexualized imagery for the Western audiences, especially since Pokemon was marketed heavily to kids outside of Japan. The city is beautiful. It has trees, flowers, and a gym.
I'm so tired that I'm about to piss all over myself.
This is Zero's time to shine. Welcome to Violet City. The Japanese name, Kikyo City, references the Japanese belly flower, a flower associated with autumn and often used in Japanese art and literature. The English name, Violet City, maintains a floral theme but uses a different flower name, which may not carry over the same cultural significance. There's nothing particularly interested in the city, although Sprout Tower is something that is foreboding and stands across from us. Let's take a look in here. In Japanese, Sprout Tower is called Madatsubomi no To, which translates to the Tower of Madatsubomi. Madatsubomi being the Japanese name for Bellsprout. This is inspired by real-life Japanese Buddhist temples, specifically in the Nara prefecture, like Kofuji and Hororyuji. The tower has monks who train mostly Bellsprout, sometimes Hoot Hoot, and the gameplay includes movement in the pillars. At night, ghastly are said to appear. Once we get to the top, we catch a glimpse of Zero's new best friend, the thief that stole Professor Elm's beloved Chikorita. Silver catches us on the way out. I decide to look into the language style between the Japanese and English versions, and it's pretty similar. He uses the word babble in English, which is pretty funny. He's a dick in both versions anyway. Let's move on. Zero makes quick work of the Elder, and Cyndaquil evolves into Quilava. In Japanese, Quilava is known as Magumarashi. The name Magumarashi comes from magma and arashi, meaning storm. Together, it literally means magma storm, a powerful destructive force of nature. In English, the name was changed to Quilava, a blend of quill and lava. We also catch Mareep in the grass outside the city. The Japanese name is Maripu, similar to the English. The origin of Mareep's name is Meri, which could mean merry, and sheep, so literally merry sheep, simple, cute, and quite Japanese. In English, the name is more stylized. Mareep actually sounds like Mary Sheep from the nursery rhyme, Mary Had a Little Lamb. Interesting. Enough of that, it's time for Zero to get his first gym badge. There's only 8, so it can't be that hard, can it? We arrive at the gym and Zero takes on the trainers leading up to the gym leader. The Japanese and English dialogue are mostly the same, but one line from the second trainer really stands out. In English, he confidently says, the keyword is guts. But in Japanese, he says, Ai kotoba wa tokonjo. This literally translates to something like, The password is spirit, or the keyword is fighting spirit. It's a lot more about inner strength and determination. The English version simplifies this to just guts. Once we dispatched a couple of trainers, we get to Faulkner. In Japanese, Faulkner's name is Hayato. It comes from Hayate, meaning swift, wind, or falcon, both tied to speed and flight. When localized to English, the name becomes Faulkner, a play on word for Faulkner, a person who trains falcons. The English and Japanese conversational texts are similar, so there's no need to go into that. But beating the gym leader, the man that usually blocks our way is now moved. Zero wants to head towards the next Pokemon gym, so he shall. After we do some more errands around the place, including returning Professor Elm to speak about the secret egg, we continue the journey. As we head towards Union Cave, the area that separates Violet City to the next city, there are a few things to point out that are different in the Japanese version and the Western release. Number 1. If you look close at Nidorann's name during battle, something odd happens. In the Japanese and Korean versions, the gender symbol, that little symbol here, appears to the right next to the Pokemon's name, like this, Nidoran or Nidoran. But in the English versions, the translators move that symbol to sit next to the Pokemon's level indicator instead. The result? You actually see the gender symbol twice, one in the name and one next to the level. It's a tiny thing most players don't notice, but why does this happen? In the Japanese version, the gender symbol is literally part of Nidoran's name, like Nidoran. But when the English team localized it, they added a separate gender icon next to the level instead, and forgot that Nidoran already has one built into its name. It's a tiny oversight, but one of those classical examples of how localization can accidentally double up when the systems don't quite match. Number 2. If you're playing the Japanese version of Pokémon Silver, you'll see that the fisherman's sprite is smoking, but in the English version, they removed it. No smoke. It was one of those small edits that most people probably didn't notice, but it's definitely a censorship thing. And there's a few more examples of this as we progress through the game. Zero reaches Union Cave. The Japanese name for Union Cave is Tsunagari no Doukutsu, which translates roughly to Linking Cave. According to Game Rant, Union Cave is inspired by a real location, Gamanokuchi, in Nigishima Bay. The real cave has underground routes and connected waterways, which caves tourists can snorkel in, similar to the watery pools in Union Cave. After passing through the damp tunnels of Union Cave, the light opens into one of the most peaceful places in Johto, Azalea Town. But in the original Japanese version, the place isn't called Azalea at all, it is Hiwada Town. The word Hiwada actually references a colour, Hiwadiro, a warm, reddish-brown tone inspired by the bark of a Japanese cypress. So while in English, Azalea paints a picture of blossoms and flowers, the Japanese name gives something more earthy, a small wooden town surrounded by bark, nature and tradition. We automatically run into this fine-looking gentleman, guarding this. I wonder what this is all about. Zero has a chat with the character, who says some suspicious things in English and Japanese. In the English version it's actually quite funny, where he states, "Aren't I a good Samaritan?" In Japanese, he says, "Aren't I a good person?" Similar tone, but just thought the word Samaritan was a bit funny. Zero walks around the town asking some of the people what is happening, and these similar figures seem to be all over town, including blocking the way to the next gym.
What?
Zero is not having that.
How dare you!
This is why he exists. Zero can't find anything specifically from others until we reach this mysterious house of a man called Kurt, whose name we've heard about town. Kurt's daughter states that her Slowpoke has been stolen and is gone. The only difference in the Japanese versus the English is the word doshio, which is what should we do? Zero speaks to Kurt to find out more information. Kurt mentions the culprits at hand. Team Rocket!
Prepare for trouble!
Make it double!
We've dealt with Team Rocket in the past. We've also defeated their leader, Giovanni. Zero may have not met them, but they are supposed to be gone. What's going on? In both English and Japanese, the dialogue is the same, though in Japanese he has a word ending particle of ya, which means a masculine and Kansai dialect. Again, this can reference back to the real area that this is based in, Kansai. And in English, Kurt says he's going to give them a lesson in pain versus I'm going to teach them a lesson myself. The English version is a bit more funny. Kurt makes his way towards the well. Zero makes his way towards the well, and the gentleman blocking the well turns out to be Team Rocket. And now he's gone. This is a good time to explain one of the sprite differences between the Japanese and English versions, which is Slowpoke. When we were in Union Cave, we saw a glimpse of this. In the Japanese releases of Pokémon, there were stripes on the belly of the Slowpoke, but in the Western version, these stripes were removed. This was part of the broader effort to update and improve the sprites for several Pokémon in Gold and Silver when released in the West. But if anyone knows more about this and the reasons, please tell me in the comments below. When we find Kurt, he says something about hurting his back. Zero must continue, but there are a number of rocket grunts in the way. The first grunt that we run into is the same guy that was blocking the road before. What tool? His translation is definitely a bit more quirky in English. He states that Kurt is an old coot. In Japanese it literally translates as old man. He also uses the word bully in Japanese, whereas in English it says he takes his anger out on us. Funny guy. We get to the end of the passage after beating all the grunts and find that they were cutting off slowpoke tails and selling them. That's always quite disturbing to me, even as a kid when I played this game. I wish the modern Pokemon would cover this type of edginess. After beating the final Rocket Grunt, Zero gets the first real explanation. Team Rocket disbanded 3 years ago, and they are hiding underground in hopes to bring back their leader. There's nothing further interesting in the language. We suddenly see Kurt, and are transported back to the house. What the hell? We notice the Slowpokes have also returned to the town. With Team Rocket disbanded in this town, Zero can now get over to the second gym. Goro's calling.
Hello.
What do you want? I don't care about your stupid weak Rattata. He calls to get in the forest. My god. This gym belongs to Bugsy in English, but in Japanese he is called Tsukushi. Tsukushi refers to the horsetail plant, which fits the nature-themed naming of many gym leaders in the early Pokemon games. Zero fights the first trainers, whose English and Japanese is slightly different. In Japanese, twins say Oni-chan to describe the gym leader. Oni-chan means big brother, but it's not just a literal term, it also is an expression of closeness, affection, and a familiarity. But in English, they just refer to Bugsy as the leader. When we fight Bugsy, it is similar in English and Japanese, talking about his research and speciality in bug Pokemon. The most interesting thing about the speech in Japanese is how childish he sounds. He starts with the word boku without a subject marker. In casual, spoken Japanese, especially when introducing yourself energetically or in a kid-like speech, the wa is often dropped.
Goodbye!
Which is the topic particle in Japanese. How old is this kid? Zero thrashes him with the Quilava and basically destroys his whole career.
I'm about to end this man's whole career.
And with that, Zero gets its second badge. With the second badge, I thought it would be worth chatting about the differences between the way the badges are ordered between both versions. As Zero checks the badge case for the first time, there's a small but interesting difference between the Japanese and Western versions. In the Japanese and Korean releases, each gym leader's portrait actually includes the name written above it, and the case itself is that it literally reads League Badge. But in the international versions, those names are removed entirely. Why was that? Simply because of space. Instead, the header was simplified to just badges in a new blocky font. Zero has just left Azalea Town to go to the next place.
Boy, hold on!
But we run into our favourite character, Silver. He seems suspiciously interested in Team Rocket, but there's a rumour that Silver is Giovanni's son, who, if you remember, is the leader of Team Rocket. However, since the original Pokémon Silver in 1999, this is revealed to be canon, particularly in the Heart Gold and Soul Silver event, where you can see Silver and Giovanni interacting and almost see the motivation for Silver. In this instance, Silver says some similar things in English and Japanese. However, in English, there's a little bit of additional dialogue, which is, "I hate them all," when defeating him. This is a rare example in the English portraying a bit more nuance compared to the Japanese version, but the Giovanni link gives a bit more of an indication as to why he's such a twat. Just beyond Azalea Town lies Ilex Forest, or in Japanese, Ubaime no Mori. The English name uses Ilex, a type of holly, to fit the floral naming scheme of Johto's towns and pathways. In Japanese, Ubame refers to the Japanese right heron, dense forest foliage, which fits the setting. Zero goes into the forest and encounters a little brat that complains that he's lost his Farfetch deep in the forest.
Oh my god, who the hell cares?
Zero goes to find him, and Jesus, this was fun. But before we do that, the mysterious egg that Professor Elm gave us hatches. Wow. Togepi in Japanese is Togepi. Well, the same. Toge, meaning spike or thorn, and P is a cutesy onomatopoeic ending often used in Japanese to make characters sound small, baby-like, or endearing, similar to Pikachu's Chew. So, Togepi literally means spiky little one, or baby with spikes. The English version kept the original name, only shortening the long vowel I to the shape E. This is one of the few Generation 2 Pokémon whose name has remained entirely unchanged between the Japanese and English versions. Now we can get on to finding that far-fetched.
Let's go!
When we finally catch this Pokemon, we are given the HM cut, which we can use to advance the forest and get to the next part of where we are. Goro is calling me again. Go away. We reach Goldenrod City, which in Japanese is Kurogane City. The Japanese Kurogane means golden colour. The English name Goldenrod comes from the goldenrod plant fitting the gold bright motif. The city is based in the real Japanese city of Osaka, a major bustling metropolis. Goldenrod City is the largest city in the Johto region. It features many landmarks, a huge department store, a game corner, the magnet train station, and the city gym, where you face as gym leader Whitney. Before we get to the gym, Zero wants to check out his inner gambling need. Just like in the first generation of Pokemon, Pokemon Silver has a gambling section. In the original Japanese version, the game corner uses classic slot machines where you spend coins to win prizes, like TMs or rare Pokemon. One significant regional difference: in later international versions, slot machines are removed or replaced due to gambling regulation concerns in Western markets. For example, the slot machine setup was altered in the Western versions of Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. We gamble for a couple of hours to see what we can get. Zero decided that he needed a gambling helpline after that, and was banned indefinitely by the owner. One of my favourite places and favourite music in Pokemon comes from the National Park, which is just north of Goldenrod City. In Japanese, this is Shizen Koen, or Natural Park. It hosts bug catching contests every Tuesday, Thursdays and Saturdays. During the contest you're given 20 part balls, and you only keep one Pokemon caught by the judging. It's not just a contest area, there are trainers, tall grass patches, special items, and scenic designs. Now we've done exploring the city, let's go to the third gym. And that is it for this video. Before we go to the next badge, I wanted to spend a bit of time exploring Goldenrod City in more detail, and go into what that city means to me. Subscribe to look out for that, and it'll be covered in the next video. Once again, thank you all, and see you next time.